Because you start with a position, and then by the end of the debate, you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton, for 2 hours packed full of unfiltered opinions, unique takes and fiery debates. I guarantee you blockbuster guests and exclusive reporting with no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I think there is a culture of collusion, quite frankly.
And no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. The Metropolitan Police firearms officers, several have been handing in their weapons after one of their colleagues was charged with murder earlier this week. GB News understands as many as 100 counter-terrorism specialist firearms officers, the Met's most elite firearms unit, have decided to step away from armed duties. That decision follows a decision by the Crown Prosecution Service to charge a firearms officer with murder over the death of 24-year-old Chris Carber, who was fatally shot in an armed police operation in South London in September last year. Boris Johnson has warned Rishi Sunak against delivering a mutilated version of HS2. The former Prime Minister says curtailing over cost with a height of insanity and desperate Treasury-driven nonsense. He's urged the Prime Minister to deliver on the Tories' 2019 levelling up pledge. The government has refused to deny reports claiming the Birmingham to Manchester route will be scrapped. David Cameron has also raised concerns, according to reports in The Times, which claims the planned line to East Midlands Parkway could also be under threat. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak is considering plans that would effectively ban cigarettes for the next generation. It would entail steadily increasing the legal age for consuming tobacco, as reported in The Guardian. If implemented by 2026, it would mean anyone aged 15 and under now would never be able to buy a cigarette. Smoking costs society £17 billion, according to government research, with £2.4 billion to the NHS alone. Ministers are also understood to be drawing up plans to ban disposable vapes. A woman arrested after a Land Rover crashed into a prep school in South London, killing 2 children, has been rebailed until January. The 46-year-old was arrested at the scene on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. It happened at an end-of-year tea party at the study prep school in Wimbledon in July. 16 people were treated at the scene of the crash. Several, including a 7-month-old girl, were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Anti-monarchy campaigners have staged a protest inside Buckingham Palace earlier today. Members of Republic staged their protest inside the Grand Hall. They unveiled T-shirts which spelled out "Not My King," 6 of the activists involved were briefly detained by security before being escorted out of the front gate. Meanwhile, hundreds of activists marched to Whitehall in London today, calling on the government to U-turn on Brexit and return to the bloc. Clusters of Metropolitan Police officers monitored that demonstration as protesters in blue and yellow handed out their flyers. The UK voted to leave the European Union in a referendum in 2016, called by the then Prime Minister, David Cameron. This is GB News across the UK on TV, in your car on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying play GB News. Now it's time for headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, the nation's favourite comedy news show. I'm Nick Dixon, of course, and I'm joined by the notorious veggie-phobic Lewis Schaefer. There he is, just hating vegetables. And, of course, his abused son, Jonathan Cogan. There he is, looking slightly abused by Lewis already. How are you doing, lads?
I am not a veggie-phobic. I'm not afraid of vegetables. I'm a vegetable denier. I don't believe in them.
You didn't deny abusing me.
You don't believe they exist?
Yeah. I don't believe that they exist as they're an emergency food source, is all they are, and they should. What should they be? I've got a new tie.
Got our Ofcom check-in early. Vegetables don't exist. Other opinions are available. What's your tie, Lewis?
My tie comes from a woman out there named Claire, Dame Claire.
Stop sending us ties.
Send Lewis Schaefer ties. Just remember that there's a gift limit here. I think it's £500.
Yes, you wouldn't want to get done for anything dodgy, like sort of cash for questions type thing. All right, well, let's crack on and have a look at Sunday's front pages after that great banter. So, The Observer has Sunak pushes to axe HS2 link ahead of Tory conference. And there it is. The Sunday Times, Sunak revives plans to slash inheritance tax. The Sunday Telegraph, axe looms over HS2 after $8 billion cost shock. The Mail on Sunday, Rishi will not axe triple lock on pensions. A lot of axing and non-axing tonight. The Sunday Mirror, Nanny, Carrie sacked me for boozing with Boris. And finally, The Star, there's a nasty whiff from your anus. Not your anus, of course, but your anus. And those were your front pages. So let's kick off with the Telegraph, Lewis.
It's axe looms over HS2 after £8 billion pound cost shock, and this is in the Sunday Telegraph. And they basically the whole thing is a scam because I don't think they ever planned on building this thing as far as they wanted to build it. It's just another London-based infrastructure. It's something to make London more powerful, bringing people into London, and they went as far as they needed to go. It's very similar. I'll tell you what it's similar to. Similar to Crossrail. Remember Crossrail, which is now called the Elizabeth Line? Everybody thought that was sold as a national project.
Was that meant to go from the end of the country?
It was meant to go from so far over there to so far over there. It was a national project. But what it was another tube line in London.
You start to sound very like Trump. It was a national project. You went full Trump for a second. Yeah, I mean, but what do you think, though, Jonathan?
They spent $2.3 billion on it already. What happens to that money that they spent?
Yes, but they're avoiding, because Rishi being an economist, he's avoiding the sunk cost fallacy, whereby you've already spent so much, people think, oh, we may as well carry on. But that's wrong in economics.
I understand the heuristic, and there's a planning fallacy as well. Everything takes longer.
Did you say heuristic?
Yeah,
We've really hit a new level. Simon Evans isn't even here, and someone just said heuristic. The haters don't know what we are. They say we're this tabloid channel, and there you're saying heuristic within minutes. Carry on.
Yeah, it's a thing we learn about. But the thing is here is, what happened to that money? It's been spent. Does anyone have to take responsibility for it? Do they divvy it up? Can we get a refund? What's that?
Great point, John. It's gone much like your wasted years of your life. It's just gone. We have to accept it.
Can I just say that I'm so proud of my son, Jonathan?
You can.
He was very well educated. Thanks his mother to that.
He sent me to private school, but I had to pay for it.
Yeah.
And he's wearing the right shirt because it's absolutely boiling in here. Go on, carry on.
Where does the money go? The money has been spent already. It's benefited the rich people. It's benefited the powers that be. That's what this country's all about. It's like taking poor people's money and spending it on stuff.
But are you pro or against it? Because Rishi's obviously thinking about getting rid of it, Rishi and Hunt. But Boris is saying, why do that? Because, of course, it's kind of his project. He sees himself as a kind of Victorian pioneer. And then you've got... But quite surprisingly, you've got Cameron against it, popping out of the woodwork. You've got Osborne against it. So they're all against scrapping
axing it, right.
Against axing it, because they want the levelling up agenda to continue and so on. Whereas Sunak's just looking at the bottom line, looking at the cash going, we haven't got
they're
it.
saying it looks bad for the UK to not be able to finish major projects like this.
Yeah,
But are people in the north,
That's the thing.
are they really that upset about this? And I don't think that they are.
We don't know. They lost communication with us years ago.
I've heard so much, right? I've heard so much stuff about the failing train system there, and having one super duper line is not going to solve it. They could easily spend just some of the money on fixing the link between Leeds and Sheffield.
That would be nice. All right, are you pro HS2 or not, Jonathan? Very quickly, with the clock against us.
I am on sort of both sides of the tracks with it.
Perfect. Centrist, non-committal on this key story.
Can I just mention one more thing that's on this thing? Is Sunak will rip up green rules to build 140 new homes. I mean, I don't think Sunak really...
140,000. 140 would be underwhelming.
Sorry, 140,000 new homes. It's like they're letting in millions every year. This will not solve the housing crisis. It will only. The best thing about
if they made sleeper trains, that would solve.
But we need to do something. Liz Truss has said we could build 1 million homes on the green belt around London. So we need to do something.
Well, no, we don't need to do something. No, because that will still not help.
NIMBY, Lewis Schaefer.
The single thing that will stop the housing crisis is ending divorce, is preventing people from getting divorced and being happily married. But 140,000 is a drop, and each one of these houses on the green belt. Sorry.
It just means we've got to move on. Let's move on and do the Sunday Times then, Jonathan.
Yeah, the Sunday Times. So the main headline here is Sunak revives plans to slash inheritance tax. If you just see in the top there, Gary Lineker saying, sex symbol, I'm 62. How old are you, Lewis?
62.
And he's a goddamn sex symbol, if you don't mind me saying. Right, back to the story, though. So the PM wants an aspirational offer before the election. So Rishi Sunak is drawing up plans to slash inheritance tax, which officials have dubbed the most hated tax in Britain. And this is a really controversial tax. They tax you when you earn the money, they tax you when you buy a house, if you get the opportunity to do that, and they tax you when you die. So it's triple taxation. Yes, there is a bit of what do they call it? Like a leeway. You get to give, £75 to your children before you.
Yeah,
pass
and
away.
if you're a couple, you can keep $1 million tax-free. I think you can pass on $1 million to the children without being taxed.
Who can live off £1 million these days?
Exactly, and there is. I certainly can't. And there is this 40% thing, though. It is mad. 40% tax for anything over 325,000. That's the kind of thing kings used to be killed for back in the day.
Yes, but there's a lot. I love my son, but there's a lot of untruth in what he said.
Yeah, it was misinformation.
Number one, the number of people who will be affected by this actually is super low. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've read it's like 3 or 4% of the population, of the people who die, have to pay these inheritance tax. But everybody out there, they think they're richer than they are just because they're living in their house that they bought for £28,000 and now it's worth 1.2 million. So this is the ease. This is going to everybody. Even poor people are thinking they have an inheritance tax. Number one,
right? So people think they hate the tax so much because they think they have to pay it, but they actually don't. Yeah.
They actually don't have to pay it. And number two, every tax is a tax of double dipping, like you said, right? How did you say that?
That's basically what he meant.
Because you get first of all, you get money taken out of your paycheck. And when you go to the shop and you have to pay VAT on something, that's taken out again. Shocking. And then, it's all, everything, every tax is taxing.
Kind of inevitable. There should be a phrase about that. But the whole thing is it's effectively extortion, because it's like, if you vote for us, we'll stop taking your relatives' money.
Well, it's a popular policy for Tories, even though, as Lewis says, in reality, it's not that many people
affected. They could have got rid of it at any time.
And just for boring facts, what they're thinking they're doing is reducing it. They're saying they can't afford to do it yet, but in the March budget, they'll reduce the 40% rate, and it'll be a vote winner.
With the money they save on the trains that they're not building.
Exactly. So, what about the Mail on Sunday, Lewis?
Rishi will not axe. The whole thing is all about axing. Rishi will not axe triple lock on pensions, which actually affects me because even though I said I was 62, I'm not really 62, though I look amazing because I'm on an all-meat diet. And so basically, the Mail is saying that Rishi's come to his senses. But the truth is, it's just Conservative Party as usual. Of course, the Conservative Party is helping old people like us because those are the only people who vote for him.
Like us.
And the triple lock, as my son explains,
The triple lock. So this is all to do with how pensions need to rise at the same rate of one of three things. So you've either got the rate of inflation, you've got the rate of wages, or just 2.5%.
Yeah, and when did you learn that, Jonathan?
Well, you know...
You've known it for ages.
I ChatGPT'd it, and I've known it for, look, some stories I just don't know about.
But we taught you just before the show, and you sold it really well there. If I didn't know you, I think he knows what he's talking
you're
about.
a double-digit IQer, I'm 155.
Right. You just learn it, just like that. Yeah, and it's another vote winner, isn't it? I mean, that's their idea. They need some votes from someone. I don't know if it's going to win any centres, but I don't know. What do you think? Because obviously Tories, you know, will like this kind of thing.
It's not a vote winner because Rishi Sunak, I hate to say this about him, he is the leader of one-third of the Tory party. The old Tory party, not the MAGA party. The Conservatives have divided. They don't want Rishi Sunak, most of them.
Crucially, it's the third that has the power, so that's the key third, isn't it? But let's just quickly do the star before we finish, because it's a very important story, Jonathan.
Yes, very important indeed. So there is a nasty whiff from Uranus. I think I may have pronounced that wrong. So basically, they're making a super telescope that, if I'm not mistaken, can sense methane gas given off by alien guffs on planets as far away as Uranus and beyond. So this is taken straight out of a Futurama episode, if I'm not mistaken, where the professor makes a smelloscope and they can smell all things out in space. And it's, I don't know what the significance is of this, but I like it because it's a nice pun and I like space.
They don't even need to do this. That's how silly this story. I mean, obviously, the Daily Star. They don't even need to smell anything. They've got spectrometers to tell. And yes, there's methane out there. The planet Titan, not the planet, the moon of Moon Titan, which is one of the largest moons of Saturn, has more methane, more hydrocarbons on Titan than the entire Earth has.
I know, not enough people are talking about that.
Yeah, we should be protesting it.
Yeah, this is done by light. Velikovsky, and this is done by light beams. So they can decide if it's methane or oxygen. And then decide if it's aliens based on that.
Smell.
Yeah, the aliens are here, as we will find out later.
It's more of a light beam thing. I understand it in
I didn't read the article, but I was right.
Well, I did extra research, as I always do on the Star. But that is it for part one. Good fun. But coming up, firms pull their ads from Rumble. Ramonas protest Brexit yet again, and the next deadly virus that will kill us all. See you in a minute.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with me, Patrick Christie's, at Drive Time, 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, on the smart speaker app, and on the GB News app. And if you've got an Alexa, all you have to say is, Alexa, play GB News. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with me, Patrick Christie's, on GB News and GB News Radio.
Join me, Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, Monday to Thursday, 9:30 a.m.
Who benefits from that? Not the British public.
And on Fridays, join us, Tom Harwood
and Ellie Costello from Britain's Newsroom.
That's what you get with this show. That's fantastic.
If it's happening, we're talking about it on Britain's Newsroom.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
First and foremost, I am a GB News fan, and I was before I was working here. Just love the fact that we're asking the questions that a lot of establishment media won't ask.
With a bit of a twist, we not only want to inform you, but we want to keep you entertained.
It's worth the drive because you get in and the team's all ready and waiting, they're itching to go, and it's a proper little family.
GB News is the People's Channel.
It's the audience that makes the programme sing.
We're giving our viewers and our listeners a voice. I see the thousands of your letters, tweets, emails, you name it, coming in.
Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it?
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent you.
It's time for something different. It's time for GB News. I'm very patriotic. I believe in Britain. Our best days lie ahead.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Join us here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon, still here with Lewis Schaefer. Is he there? There he is. And his illegitimate child, Jonathan Cogan. Look at that. He's been
I'm illegitimate,
pumping
but
iron.
I'm not meant to be here.
Yeah.
Let's get straight into it then and do the Observer. And Keir Starmer has finally taken a clear stance on something. It's net zero. And his view is the opposite of whatever Rishi Sunak just said, Lewis.
Right, that's so true. With Keir Starmer, he gave a UK clean energy action in a New York City address, except the address didn't take place in New York. He filmed it in Britain and sent it over there. So this is like a lie. And so he did the speech at the Global Citizen Festival Saturday afternoon. I guess that happened already. And his goal is to deliver climate security. And at that point, I stopped reading because basically.
That's why we pay you, Lewis.
Yeah, you know what? It's a why do
you get paid?
You know what they say? Oh, I have to read this so the people out there don't have to. They know it's all a scam.
And for broadcast regulations, I have to say, some people think it's not a scam. Many people, Jonathan is a science expert. He knows it's not. It's real. It's killing us all.
You got to say it's real.
Oh, it's real. It's for balance, it's for real. No, you should all be terrified and give up all your freedoms, of course. The interesting thing here is that Keir Starmer says that the world is facing serious threats from extreme poverty to criminal gangs. Only progressive international politics can rise to these challenges. What's progressive politics going to do for criminal gangs? I feel like you need perhaps some law and order with the laws enforced and incentives to lead a good moral life.
That's what your side believes, but the other side, if I
the Jews,
the other side, no, not just because
I'm a globalist again.
It's like what Tony Blair said. He said tough on the causes of crime, and that's what Jeff Starmer's saying. He's saying, we're having these problems, and if we just raise. If we help the climate, then we won't have any problems.
Tough on climate, tough on the causes of climate. OK, yeah, I mean, look, it's it's trying to put distance between him and Sunak, because Sunak said some quite realistic things about net zero. It's not practical to get there so fast. And he sent everyone mad. Al Gore's saying he's doing the wrong thing. It's shocking and disappointing. Starmer's saying it's the worst kind of culture war politics, which I always hate that when they pretend there's not a culture war going on. As if Sunak, I mean, I know I'm supposed to be balanced here, but as if Sunak being a bit more moderate on net zero is culture war politics. It's just looking out for ordinary people who don't want to pay for a ridiculous
Well, it is cultural politics. He's just on the not aggressive.
Is it, or is it just people's cost of living, people's ordinary concern?
No, it is. There is a war going on, and I think the people need to know.
It's a war on consciousness.
There is a war going on. There are two teams. There's one team that believes in controlling oil and in turning it off for Britain, and there's the other team that's in favor of us being warm in the winter.
Who's winning?
The team that's the global team. They got more stuff going for them. For now, they're winning for now, but they're not going to hold because empires never hold. Only nations do.
Nice. On that, I mean, that sounded good. I don't know if it meant anything, but I like the cadence. Let's move on then and do the Sunday Express. And Ramonas were out in force today, marching to rejoin the EU. I wondered why Waitrose was all out of avocados and smugness, Lewis.
Yeah, it was unbelievable today. I mean, I read a couple of articles about this. It said the protesting Ramonas stumped after being asked to explain why they miss the EU, because one of our guys, Ben Leo, went out there and started asking people questions, and of course they couldn't answer questions like, what do you miss about Brexit? Of course,
about the EU.
About the EU, sorry.
And they were like, oh, I like the EU, and they had nothing.
And nothing. But when you ask anybody at any march, then no one knows anything, so you can't be mad at them. But what was shocking is, I read that there were only 3,000 marchers. Did you hear this? 3,000. And so it's made every single newspaper. It probably was on the BBC. It was probably on ITV. And when there were 1 million or 500,000 protesters against lockdown, which I was on in these marches, No, nothing. They didn't show anything.
Right, it's interesting. You're right, the numbers weren't that high, I believe, and it seems to be, it's not really the time for this. It's only the hardcore cranks, Steve Bray and Guy Verhofstadt, weirdly, who seems to have sort of gone down in the world a bit. He was there, Gina Miller was there, the real hardcore, but it's not going to be a mainstream policy for a while. I believe eventually they'll try and get us back into Europe, but it'll be like a 10-year project. What do you think, Jonathan?
I don't think we're going to go back in anytime soon. That is my educated opinion. I could be proven wrong, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think people care enough anymore. We did that. We did the thing.
Yeah, it's not the time. We found out Lewis marched against lockdown. I marched against the first Iraq war. Did you ever march against anything, Jonathan?
No. I occasionally get my steps in and join. I'm on the writer's strike, but that's because no one will hire me. So.
All right, cool. Well, let's do the Observer then. And companies are pulling their ads from the video platform Rumble due to Russell Brand. Cancel culture is back. Did it ever really go away, Jonathan?
I don't think it did. This is a really interesting story. This is kind of this is the story for the soul of social media, for the internet. So the headline is, firms pull ads from Rumble platform over Russell Brand videos. So a number of large companies have pulled their advertisements from the video platform Rumble, where Russell Brand broadcasts his weekly show in the week since allegations of rape and sexual assault against the medium came to light. So a load of big sponsors like Burger King, ASOS, the Barbican, HelloFresh, they've removed their ads, and basically Rumble have quite vocally taken the stance that they are not going to demonetize or cancel Russell Brand in this in this instance, because they say he is innocent till proven guilty, as far as I understand what they're saying. And there was actually quite a, you could say, nefarious letter from a Tory MP, which I'm sure we've covered on the show before.
Yeah, Dame Caroline Dinenage.
That's the one, asking, basically hinting heavily that they should take or demonetize Russell's videos. And YouTube have done that and stuff. So this really does seem to be a microcosm for the social media debate at large, and I think Rumble are going to have to stand firm on this if they want to keep their image as a free speech platform, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, it's very well put. A microcosm, absolutely. And there is a little wrinkle to this, though. Now, I was not fast to defend Russell Brand, because he's not really like my guy, because if you've been in comedy, a lot of people don't particularly love him, but I was a bit surprised that people like Jordan Peterson were so fast to defend him and say this is just an agenda. But then when this kind of thing happens, you do start to wonder, you know, is this an agenda or is it just what advertisers do? Because there's so many people going after him, you know, demonetizing YouTube, Caroline Dinenage, the advertiser, it just seems to be, you do start to wonder. That said, I did see that Silky Carlo from Big Brother Watch, who would normally support, these kind of freedoms, was very upset that Brand was exploiting real censorship concerns for faux martyrdom. And what she meant was, in his video, he said that this is in the context of the online safety bill. So did he, what do you think, Lewis, did he sort of posit a conflation between the online safety bill and this, when actually they're not really the same thing? You know, he's trying to sort of tie his issues to a wider sort of free speech issue?
It is the same thing directly. It's a whole basket of ideology that Team World propagates, which is controlling the media, having the right media, all these companies falling in line, making sure that there's only correct speech. And whatever Russell Brand did, the fact is they're not getting him because of that. They're getting him because, I hate to say it, it's not even, you're going to say this is a conspiracy theory. So you're going to have to question, say, it's not, it's Team World versus Team Britain, or the home team versus Team World, and there's a war going on. It's not like
it's a war of consciousness.
Every one of these stories, Jonathan, this is what I tell my son. Every one of these stories, they're all in one side or the other, depending on what's happening. And once you see that, you don't even need to read any of these stories.
This is ideal for you, because you weren't anyway. But so what we're sort of saying is, although he may have conflated the online safety bill, you're saying broadly there's two movements. One wants to censor, one wants freedom, and those two are forever at war.
Well, probably we would censor too if we had the power. We'd like to censor those people. But there's that side of global control of this self-identity, of feminism, of women are always right. And the other side is like, we're the old ways of
due process and so on. Yeah. And it's, Rumble, Jonathan, it's not like it's a small company. It's valued at more than $2 billion. It's like this idea they're attacking these wild fringe beliefs and this crazy platform. But it's backed by Peter Thiel. It's a serious contender.
Well, they're not attacking the platform as such. They're attacking certain accounts within the platform.
No, they're attacking.
But therefore, they're attacking the platform because the platform believes in free speech and it doesn't think it has to align with the views of all its members and clients.
Oh, sorry, the sponsors are attacking. Yeah, okay.
And the sponsors are cancelling it. What does that remind you of? That reminds you of what's happened here at GB News. That's why.
I saw proper adverts on earlier.
Yeah. Did you really?
Yeah. Like Panadol or something, or there are other brands available.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, but the ones who don't advertise with us, such as Sainsbury's or Tesco's, we should boycott them.
And that's Lewis's opinion. It's, I don't know, I can't really disagree or agree with that because I have to show balance, but I can't say, GB's bad. Anyway, good story, very interesting. Let's quickly do this one in the Sun with the obligatory next virus will kill us all story, Lewis.
Yes, as you say, next pandemic could come from 1 million unknown viruses and kill 50 million people like the Spanish flu, warns experts. And that's where I stopped reading. Okay, that'll be my new meme, and that's where I stopped reading.
And that's where I stopped reading.
Because number one, these are the people who lied to us about COVID, who lied to us about lockdown, who lied to us about masks and mandates and all that stuff. They're just maybe they didn't lie to us, but they're either liars or they're just wrong. And I'm going to go so far as to say, so that people think this is comedy, I don't believe in viruses. I don't think I believe in bacteria. You can get sick by eating a lot of bacteria, but I don't think that viruses exist. And I think you can Google Spanish flu.
And just for balance, many people do think viruses exist.
People.
That's the mainstream view, but the Lewis Schaefer view. But remember, folks at home, that Lewis Schaefer also thinks water dehydrates us, so we have to look at it in context.
And water can dehydrate you when it's lacking. What do you call those?
Electrolytes.
He doesn't believe in teeth brushing. So just give you an idea.
I don't believe in teeth brushing.
Or viruses. But Jonathan, what do you think? Because this is, I sort of feel like they've had a pandemic now, right?
Yeah.
So now they can always use this on as like the next big thing.
It's just another tool in
the risk has always been
arsenal.
there. There's no new risk, right? But now they're talking as if there's a new risk. It's always been there. It's just that now we're all aware of it.
I just hope that it isn't seeding the idea that, like, oh, we're ready for the next one, so everyone's, like they're doing with aliens, so they're ready for it.
Like Bill Gates when he called COVID pandemic 1. I was like, how many have you got planned, Bill?
Yeah.
Satirical content,
If you go back in time, this is World War I. What do you mean World War I?
Yeah,
same thing.
It says it could. This is what I call a camp story, which is it could, maybe, possibly happen.
Asteroids are much more worrying.
You know what? All I know is this, is that anytime you see the word expert, say, I'm going to find out what Lewis Schaefer says.
Yes, he's the only expert we respect on this show, and that is it for part 2. But coming up, Bristol University cancels the army, Sadiq Khan cancels the Met Police, and Prince Harry is left homeless. See you in a minute.
A brighter outlook with Boxed Solar. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. I'm Craig Snell. Well, looking ahead to Sunday, a very different day compared to today. Spells of heavy rain, especially across the northern half of the UK. That's all courtesy of this area of low pressure. It will move the area of high pressure away towards the continent, giving a very unsettled day for some of us. May hang on to the largely settled conditions at times across the southeast. But as we go into tonight, you can see this area of rain gradually working its way eastwards across many parts of the UK. Heaviest the rain across Scotland, the southeast just remaining largely dry with the clearest of the skies. But for all of us, a milder night than last night. We will see lows falling not much lower than around 10 to 12 degrees. But we do start Sunday off on a rather wet note across parts of Wales into the Midlands. This area of rain will gradually work its way northwards as we go through the course of the day, turning quite heavy for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland. A thoroughly wet afternoon to come here, but it will turn brighter and drier across the south. So some sunshine to end the day here. Feeling quite warm, 21 degrees down towards the southeast. Elsewhere, the temperature's tempered somewhat by that strong wind. Into Monday, the overnight rain clearing, really leaving a mixture of sunshine and scattered showers. Some of the showers potentially quite heavy and thundery across the northern half of the UK, with the best of the sunshine down towards the south. But the unsettled weather is set to continue as we go into next week, potentially turning very wet and windy on Wednesday.
A brighter outlook with Boxed Solar. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio, and online.
Join the live desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes & Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton, for 2 hours packed full of unfiltered opinions, unique takes, and fiery debates. I guarantee you blockbuster guests and exclusive reporting with no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I think there is a culture of collusion, quite frankly.
And no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio, and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard.
We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often there will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get straight into it with the Mail. And next to be cancelled is the Army. I mean, who needs protection from deadly global threats anyway, Jonathan?
That is good satire.
Thank you.
Fury. I don't know what satire is.
You can tell you've smashed it when they don't laugh, they just say, that is good satire.
Yeah.
I felt good inside when you
Lol. Right, so Fury as woke university bans British Army from attending its Freshers' Fair. Bristol Students' Union's decision to bar Officers Training Corps is branded absurd by UK Defence Secretary. So the Defence Secretary has snapped back at Bristol Students' Union after a controversial decision to ban an Army-affiliated group from attending the university Freshers' Fair. So it's been described by the leader of that group as absurd and indefensible, claiming it will deprive students of opportunities to gain new experiences, develop valuable skills and have amazing adventures. So what it seems has happened here is that the Bristol University has banned the OTC from being at the Freshers' Fair because it's very similar and therefore in direct competition with our affiliated student groups. I mean, I hear the debate group is quite militant these days. I don't really know what the... that was a joke.
I called up your brother, who is a student at the University of Bristol, Bristol University.
Mercedes.
And he says this is just the student union. They're anti-military, but the university itself, according to him, is very pro-military because they fund the computer center and the engineering department. It's just the students, and you know students. When I was at school, I was anti-military.
Yeah, it's an easy position when you're young and barely part of society and don't understand anything.
And you're afraid of being called and drafted yourself, possibly.
True, yeah. We should bring that back. National service, 1 year for Jonathan.
I wouldn't last 10 minutes.
No, that's true. I believe that. All right.
I'd be the sound effect guy in police. category.
Yeah. All right, that's a little bit of a Nan story, so let's move on and do the Sunday Times. And Sadiq Khan is threatening to break up the Met Police. Is he annoyed that they're actually solving crimes or something, Lewis? What's angered him?
No, what's angered him is the toxic culture of the Met Police. Remember, Sadiq Khan is the mayor of it. I mean, he's a total tool of Team World, and but he wants the police to reform. But the fact is the police can never reform because who goes into the police department? People who are power hungry, who want to tell people what to do, who demand respect.
And many good people too.
And good people too. But there's a certain type of person. It's like who becomes a comedian? Is someone desperate for
exclusively bad people.
Bad people, right? Well, we know that. Okay. And anyway, Sadiq Khan, he doesn't have the authority to do this, according to what they say. That the government, the big people at Whitehall.
What would happen if he did break them up? Would there just be no London police?
Yeah, just defund, and then he has to live. Then he gets mugged the first day.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the plan is. He's basically said nothing's off the table. That's what he said. It's a kind of vague threat. It needs to get its act together. It's a kind of vague threat. The strange thing is with the police. One, you've got the woke guidance, and they're always like examining non-crime hate incidents. Then two, you've got the kind of on the opposite end, you've got the kind of wrong uns who are generally like, you've got rapists in there, you've got people who are defending rapists and creating that culture. Then somewhere in the middle, you've got ordinary banter, which is just the gallows humour of any job.
Yeah.
So that seems to me. So you've got to get rid of the actual wrong uns, the bad apples. But a lot of this, I mean, as many. What do you think, Jonathan? Is some of it just banter?
I don't know. I feel a bit conflicted here because I have a natural anti-authoritarian slant, but I also want civilization to maintain. I feel like you need some kind of barriers, and in a sense, these police are the barriers.
We're not talking about getting rid of all police, I guess, just the Met
Just
police.
the Met.
Not like
so none in London.
Police.
No, but the Met Police, they're talking about getting rid of like Metropolitan Police. They're talking about getting rid of like 1,600 officers are being investigated after a review of complaints for alleged domestic violence or sexual abuse in the past decade. It's not even things that they've done on the job. It's things that they did at home. Sure, we don't want a police officers breaking the law, but
I mean, if you got sacked for stuff you did at home,
everybody. We're not talking about me, but yeah, it's a problem. I think the police. I can't even talk about this. I've got a pending case on me that's been sitting around for 4 years waiting.
Definitely not get into that. But or maybe we should. Maybe that should be the whole show. I don't
We'll get into that with the Russell Brand
story. We filled some minutes on that story, given that none of us understood it.
No, I don't understand.
I don't even know if I want to discuss it. Something happened to me.
I don't think Sadiq understood it. I think he's just saying things.
First, we've got to do this one in the Sunday Telegraph. And Republican activists have staged an anti-monarchy protest in Buckingham Palace, saying "Not my king." And we can also add to that, "Not employed," Jonathan.
Yeah.
More satire for you there. Look at it.
Yeah.
Coming at you.
OK, so the headline is, Republican activists stage anti-monarchy protest inside Buckingham Palace. So activists from a campaign group, Republic, pretend to be tourists before essentially posing for a picture, ripped off their T-shirts, ripped off their overshirts and revealing T-shirts saying, "Not my king." Possibly the lamest protest ever. It lasted for about 25 seconds before essentially a hall monitor there said, "Come on, guys, what are you doing?" and broke it up. So they had a bit of a, I don't say tantrum, but I mean, he is their king. Do they say they don't like the monarchy in general? They don't like him? Like,
do you like the monarchy?
I don't know. I mean, like, I do like shape-shifting lizards, but at the same time, I don't really, or might not be for Ofcom. But yeah, I don't really know. Again, I feel conflicted because I have a natural anti-authoritarian slant, and I think we should vote in our leaders.
Pick a side. This is your mother coming in here. Pick a side.
Yeah.
Can I say what I'm thinking? Mm-hmm. I mean, I should not make a comment because this is not my country, even though my children
He threw
are
the tea
English,
into the sea.
even though I've lived here for 23 years. But I think personally, I know there's lots of people out there, maybe half the people, 75% of the people who are watching this love the royal family. I think that they're not standing up for Britain anymore. And I think that they've gone over to Team World, they've struck a deal with those people. And we need someone who's going to fight for this country. I would support the monarchy if I felt that they were fighting for this country.
I see what you mean. Charles is more woke, of course, than our beloved Queen Elizabeth. And I do feel they're being opportunistic here. They even say Charles is not an untouchable monarch. He's not immune to criticism and doesn't enjoy the deference that protected the monarchy while his mother was on the throne. So these people are opportunists, doing this when they think the monarchy is weak. And they're doing it shortly after midday, which is the classic sign of unemployed dossers. Let's do the Sunday Telegraph. And Prince Harry has been left homeless. And I thought your divorce was tough, Lewis.
Yeah, this is a tragedy.
Well,
this is a tragedy. This is bad. There's 2 divorces. Prince Harry, I want to seem more sympathetic. There's only one. Prince Harry told to give notice as he's denied a room at Windsor Castle. Remember, because he's visiting he's gone away to the Invictus Games, which he developed, which he's done an amazing job. I mean, he's done something. He's made people's lives better, but he was looking for a place to stay because his father turfed him out of the Frogmore house. Not that he was using it. He had that big house in Santa Barbara, wherever he was living. And he didn't have a place to stay, so he called up his dad. His dad said, listen, you got to give me more notice. I'm not a presenter. You know what I'm saying? You want me to, like, say the story. Somebody else needs to say the story.
OK. Well, it's pretty much what you said. Is Prince Harry was told, you know, he had to give notice to stay at his... It's weird. You have to give notice to stay at your dad's house. It is polite,
I think they had a bunch of, like, old books in his room and they couldn't clear space, so he couldn't stay. That's what it was.
Yeah. OK. I mean...
Yeah, he was... The son... He's a problem child. He's given his dad and his grandmother, who's dead, a lot of problems. Forget about that they're royal family. They're a family. And the father, I think, is just a bit sick of him, as I would be, even though.
OK. Well, yeah. I mean, the question is, will he have to pay rent? Will he pay his, pull his weight around the house? Yeah.
Will he do the mopping?
Well, I make my other son pay rent in my house that I'm living in. I mean, he hasn't paid yet, but I will make him.
OK.
Oh, we'll pay.
Well, all right. That is pretty much it for that story.
We slowed down.
Yeah, we slowed down. There's all sorts of tech issues going on. Don't worry, I'm telling you. I've seamlessly dealt with it in the background. Huh? It's all good. Let's just go to the break and we'll see you, because we've got some great stories in the final section, so see you in 2 minutes.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get into it with the Mail on Sunday. And men are more likely to think sex with a 16-year-old is acceptable. And we hand this extremely delicate story to Lewis Schaefer.
I know, yeah, this is my best behavior. It's another men are different than women. Men don't think it's a problem. Women think it's a problem. The law is 16. I don't know, are they going to change the law to make it 18 years old? I think, sex 18. There was a senator, not a senator, an MP. What's her name? She was 20 years old, that Mary woman from Scotland.
In the SNP, yeah.
An SNP. I mean, we've spent a lot of time adultifying children over the past few years, and now all of a sudden, people are going to change.
Well,
This was a study that was done with for Ipso at the PA, I guess, a press authority.
You okay, Lewis? I feel like you're trying to be so careful. You kind of shut down. Is it like you've had too many carbs? But I'll give some more facts. And basically, more than a quarter of men, 27%, said it was okay for someone to sleep with a 16-year-old.
And then they high-fived after they said it as well.
Yeah. But that was actually with a 16-year-old boy to be with a woman aged up to 30. Sorry, that was the one. Well, around a third said it was okay to sleep with someone 16. I personally think the age should go up to 18, and 48% of people think that as well. What do you think, John?
When I was 15, I was in a relationship with a quite wealthy lady in her late 50s, and though I was technically underage, she was in her late 50s, and she used to put out cigarettes on me.
What?
Is that true? No, that's not true.
Is that some sort of reference we're not getting? Because that was just like a really weird moment.
Another statistic.
Is that a joke we didn't get? Okay, carry on.
Is that a joke?
We'll talk about this off air.
No one here knows what happened. What do we? I mean, it's a hard story to get into. Obviously, it's come out with these Russell Brand allegations. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to ask without cancelling us all. But I personally think it should go up because it's clearly not acceptable to people, right? People are uncomfortable with it. That's why this is the topic. So therefore, put up the age to 18. Well, let's get done with it.
Sleeping with a 16-year-old is like going to an Airbnb and taking all the Nespresso pods home with you. It's not illegal, but you shouldn't do it. That's it.
That was a good way of putting it. OK, let's end on that, because clearly no one wants to talk about that. Let's do the Mail on Sunday and a row over the declining viewing figures of Football Focus. It's all kicking off, Jonathan.
Oh, nice.
Kicking off like a football game.
I've not seen it, so I'll trust you. So, Football Focus row. Alex Scott and Dan Walker in public spat over the future of BBC programme after the former presenter claimed it was struggling. So, it's been revealed that the 49-year-old programme, that's a long show, has lost more than one-third of its early season viewers in the space of 4 years. So it's gone down by about 30%. And one of the guys, Walker, said on Twitter, or X, it's hard to see Football Focus struggling. I loved it growing up, and it was an honour to present it, and I still miss it. Whereas another guy, Scott, responded in GIF format,
that's a woman.
Interesting.
That's Alex Scott, who's a woman. The point
on
is...
a football show? What? Well, I'd never. No, I don't.
The point is, I can't tell if you set that up or not, or if you're just really ignorant and then recovered. But the point is, Walker got rid of for Alex Scott, and so he's basically saying, it's terrible to see it going massively downhill since that woman took off. Absolutely terrible. And he's put it in the most passive-aggressive way. She responded with a GIF that just said, interesting, which has now been deleted, I believe. But it is, I mean, basically, Lewis, and the BBC has responded in classic fashion. They are saying that it's not Alex Scott's fault. They're still backing her, even though 300,000 people have turned off. It's classic BBC. It's like, it's not us that are at fault. The people need to be better. Because basically, many people, is it that they don't want to watch a woman, or is it just that they don't think Alex Scott's that good? Because lots of people like
Or
Kelly
there are other
Cates,
alternatives now. Like, everyone's got a million different YouTube channels they can watch analysing a game. You've got, like, live commentators on Twitch doing all these things, I assume.
Yeah, also that. What do you think, Lewis?
Well, I kind of agree with that, but I also think that, maybe people don't want to see a woman presenter. I mean, the fact is you have men today dressing up as women to get into women's prisons just to be able to talk about football.
I'd like to go back to the age of consent story, if I may.
You're right, Lewis. Those prison football pundits.
No, that was a joke.
No,
but the point, people didn't get it. I didn't think it was that funny. But it's people stop watching television, and I think they're losing faith in the BBC because of maybe watching sports programs because of that, Gary Lineker. And the BBC is the state propaganda.
There it is. You know what the problem is, Lewis? It's the centralisation of everything, and it's the death of love. We've got to move on and do the Sunday Star. And a group of monkeys are now communicating using only smell, a tactic that also works for Extinction Rebellion, Jonathan. I'm on fire tonight. Come on. One day you'll get these jokes.
Yeah. OK, monkeys now communicate with smells like cats as they're drowned out by city noise. So a rare species of monkey has developed the ability to communicate purely by smell after the noise humans make in a nearby city became too loud. So normally monkeys are quite vocal. They use hand gestures. They use vocalizations. But because the traffic and other things have become so loud, they now have to do scent like cats do. You know, they have their scent glands, which I just assume is real. And then, yeah, they leave scent marks everywhere to try and give signals to other monkeys. So, you know how a dog may urinate on a lamppost to give a signal that it's his territory? Monkeys are now doing that. So they've adapted. So if anything, they should be thanking us.
Yeah, we don't hear enough about the pied tamarin monkey, do you, Lewis? But they're leaving scent marks instead to survive because people are too loud.
Yeah, well, this is research that was done by Angela Ruskin. Anglia Ruskin University in the UK. I mean, as if they don't have things to worry about in this country. They're worrying about monkeys in Manaus, in the Manaus region of Brazil. And these are tiny little monkeys.
They're tiny monkeys.
Tiny. I think they're like 10
tiny
inches.
monkeys.
They're non-monkeys.
Yeah.
OK, well, let's crack on then, away from these tiny monkeys and do the Mail on Sunday. And do you want to know the exact time and day you're going to die, Lewis?
1 hour after you get the vax.
I don't mean I've got a contract out on you, by the way.
Sorry.
One joke I said before the show.
Do it again. Sorry, I did.
Literally interrupted.
He interrupted.
No, it was me.
I didn't interrupt.
No one thought it was going to be me. Do it again.
No, we've got to do the story.
That was a good joke.
Exact time, day, month you're going to die according to science.
According to science, and you're not going to kill me. The fact is that there was research done, where they took thousands of people who died, and they found out what day they died. This story has no truth whatsoever because they're trying to say whether the exact day or month that you're going to die. No, it's an average of people who died in the past.
And it's 11 a.m. basically on a Saturday. This is where you've got to be really careful. In winter.
No, that's
and it's
when
6 p.m. for some people.
Yes.
Hang on, it's 6 p.m. for people who have the GG genotype, which affects stutterers mainly. I'm doing another joke for you, Jonathan. I'm making really clear now my joke. What do you think, Jonathan? 11 a.m. bad time in winter, Saturday?
I'd like to publicly apologise for stepping on your punchline. You did specifically tell us not to ruin that one.
I know, and you still do it. It's painful.
You told me not to ruin it. And he was listening to this.
No, but I don't know. But basically, you have a circadian rhythm. You're more likely to die at certain points in your body's clock, and 11 a.m. seems to be the time. You've been up for 20 minutes, and you're just having a,
No, it just could be statistical variations because this is a retrospective study. It's epidemiology. It's nothing. It says nothing about what's going on now. It has no predictive value.
Okay,
it's just an average.
It'll never happen to me because I get up at 1 p.m. So that's my technique. Nice. Thanks, guys. We're going to go to the papers. So the show's pretty much over, but let's have another quick look at Sunday's front pages. So, The Observer goes with Sunak pushes to axe HS2 link ahead of Tory conference. The Sunday Times has Sunak reviews plans to slash inheritance tax. The Sunday Telegraph has axe looms over HS2 after 8 billion cost shock. The Mail on Sunday has Rishi will not axe triple lock on pensions. The Sunday Mirror, Nanny Carrie sacked me for boozing with Boris. And finally, The Star. There's a nasty whiff from Uranus, which we covered earlier. And those were the front pages. That is it for tonight's show. Thanks to Lewis and Jonathan. Headliners is back tomorrow at 11 p.m. There they are. And if you're watching at 5 a.m., then stay tuned for breakfast. But for now, it's good night, good morning, and God bless.
A brighter outlook with Boxed Solar. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. I'm Craig Snell. Well, looking ahead to Sunday, a very different day compared to today. Spells of heavy rain, especially across the northern half of the UK. That's all courtesy of this area of low pressure. It will move the area of high pressure away towards the continent, giving a very unsettled day for some of us. May hang on to the largely settled conditions at times across the southeast. But as we go into tonight, you can see this area of rain gradually working its way eastwards across many parts of the UK. Heaviest the rain across Scotland, the southeast just remaining largely dry with the clearest of the skies. But for all of us, a milder night than last night. We will see lows falling not much lower than around 10 to 12 degrees. But we do start Sunday off on a rather wet note across parts of Wales into the Midlands. This area of rain will gradually work its way northwards as we go through the course of the day, turning quite heavy for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland. A thoroughly wet afternoon to come here, but it will turn brighter and drier across the south. So some sunshine to end the day here. Feeling quite warm, 21 degrees down towards the southeast. Elsewhere, the temperature's tempered somewhat by that strong wind. Into Monday, the overnight rain clearing, really leaving a mixture of sunshine and scattered showers. Some of the showers potentially quite heavy and thundery across the northern half of the UK, with the best of the sunshine down towards the south. But the unsettled weather is set to continue as we go into next week, potentially turning very wet and windy on Wednesday.
A brighter outlook with Boxed Solar. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with me, Patrick Christie's, at drive time, 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, on the smart speaker app, and on the GB News app. And if you've got an Alexa, all you have to say is, Alexa, play GB News. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with me, Patrick Christie's, on GB News and GB News Radio.
Join me, Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, Monday to Thursday, 9:30 a.m.
Who benefits from that? Not the British public.
And on Fridays, join us, Tom Harwood
And Ellie Costello from Britain's Newsroom.
That's what you get with this show. That's fantastic.
If it's happening, we're talking about it on Britain's Newsroom.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.